Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the best show of the best shows, where we talk about everything from comic books to even social commentary. This is episode number
12
of For Canon's Sake. So whether you're a normie, a wannabe expert, or a tryhard, get in there. And now, for your host, Mr. Eric July.
Welcome again, everybody, for another episode of For Canon's Sake. Sorry, I've been slow. I feel like I'm saying that on really every other episode. But I'm trying to get better. I really am. I'm trying to get better in terms of how I'm actually putting these out. Trying to put them out more frequently. I think I now have a schedule that I want to stick to. Something that I think is going to work. Something that I think is going to be beneficial. Not only for myself, but getting you guys familiar with the schedule as far as when it's going to be. And how I'm going to be dropping this content as far as the podcast. The podcast isn't supposed to be like my videos, man. It's not supposed to be like everything that I do in terms of uploads, maybe to YouTube or Facebook or what have you. It's supposed to be a little different. And they're long form. These are my thoughts talking about some of the relevant topics. Though, yes, we like to talk comic books. We keep it really in a wide range of different things. We talk about politics here and there, and it's just trying to make sure that I'm sticking on a schedule, but also giving you guys something that's fresh and new. So that's been the sort of difficult thing in trying to differentiate this from all of my other material. But it does feel good to be recording yet another episode. Appreciate all the supporters. Of course, this is live on every single, pretty much not every single, but most major digital platforms that you can think of. You can listen to this podcast, Spotify's of the world, iTunes or Apple Podcasts, wherever you really listen to your podcast. You can absolutely catch this. Of course, you can visit and listen to the latest episode of For Canon's Sake, as well as get more information on everything that I'm doing at ericdjuly.com. That's ericdjuly.com. And this episode of For Canon's Sake is actually brought to you by Daydreamer Customs. Now, what is Daydreamers or Daydreamer Customs? This is a shop that is actually by way of Lady Ripper. So it's not a paid advertisement, believe it or not. It's not a paid advertisement. This is something that you actually help the fam with this, but all sorts of jewelry, wood burning sort of, just everything's out there. You can go check that out. Certainly the holidays are coming up. Get something for your lady. Get something. I mean, when I say it's a wide range, I can't even name everything that's there over at daydreamercustoms.com. But we have coasters, all sorts of things that you can go check out, all handcrafted by Lady Ripper. So go check that out, daydreamercustoms.com. Again, that's daydreamercustoms.com. Today, the episode primarily is about Disney Plus, right? Everybody's talking about it. It's the latest thing. And there's so many different angles to take from this. So the whole episode is really dedicated to Disney Plus. That's something that we may get into a little later on. But the primary thing about this episode is Disney Plus. So many different angles I want to take with this. I want to talk about what's being offered there. I want to talk about how this affects the industry, streaming. From a comic book standpoint, how does this change things? There's so many different things that I want to discuss on this episode of For Canon's Sake, but it's about Disney Plus. They have now hijacked the stream. And they're not paying me for any of this, by the way. They should be. But nonetheless, we're going to be discussing this and what it means. Now, you can get right now for $6.99, which is virtually nothing. Knowing you guys are alcoholics, you're going to spend that on drink. $6.99 a month. What you get is a lot, pretty much all of, the catalog that Disney has, Pixar as well. And of course, what's more intriguing to me and probably some of my fan base is going to be the Marvel stuff as well as the Star Wars stuff. It's also some National Geographic stuff that's there. So for $6.99 a month, you can get all of that. Or you can bundle it, which is what I did. And by the way, that's $69.99 a year if you want to go ahead and purchase out the year. But for $6.99 a month, you can get Disney Plus. But you also, for $12.99, so basically doubling that, you can get Hulu, and you can also get ESPN Plus. And that was what was intriguing to me and why I was excited to bundle it. I didn't have ESPN Plus before, and I'm a AC Milan fan, so obviously it was hard to catch all of the games, right? Italian League, Serie A games, but I was able to check it out. And now that I have access to this, or I have Disney Plus, I am able to watch all of those games as well as the other cool little stuff that ESPN Plus has in terms of what you can get access to. They have all sorts of little one-off documentaries and shows. I believe Kobe has his own little show over there as well. So it's just a lot more interesting than the regular ESPN. So I went with that. So $12.99. I also recently canceled both my Funimation and my Netflix. That had a little to do with Disney Plus. I was canceling it in anticipation, but it was something more that was overdue. I hadn't watched Funimation. I don't know in how long, right? Funimation, I had not been watching my anime, so I didn't have it. Well, I had it, but it was for no reason, for the most part. Netflix, now that I've watched all my Marvel shows, watched everything that I was going to be on, that I was watching on there, talked about this on stream about my Steven Seagal and how I love Steven Seagal. And they had a bunch of Steven Seagal movies on there. I was able to watch a lot of those on Netflix. So I powered through all of those. Asked the lady, it's like, hey, do you watch anything? I would have kept it. It was no big deal. We would have kept it. But she was like, I don't really watch anything on there. So we went ahead and canceled it out. And some of it was in anticipation for Disney Plus, but a lot of it was, I wasn't using it anyway. So I got it. And now I had Disney Plus. You can visit youtube.com/YoungRoper59 if you want to go check the video on which I did basically almost a launch reaction. And I went through the interface. It's kind of buggy. They were not prepared for this launch. It seems like that is a reoccurring thing with pretty much anything. They kind of under anticipate the reach that they have. And so we don't get a smooth sort of sailing launch. It's going to be buggy. And we went through a lot of what was there, the catalog. What intrigued me the most about Disney Plus was, of course, and I love to get everybody's thoughts, no matter where you're watching this, you can comment your thoughts as far as what you think of Disney Plus. I know some people have personal vendettas with Disney all around. They're not giving them any money. Some people have their own agendas and what have you. Respect it. But as far as what I was into it for, it was Marvel. And I told you about the bundle, but I knew that this was, from a content creation standpoint, going to be beneficial for me because of what I now have access to in terms of the catalog. Looking at all the Marvel, it's not even with the Marvel Cinematic Universe movies. I'm talking the animated stuff. I've already done videos, right? A couple of videos on XMen. I'm only 3 episodes in that bad boy, right? And watching XMen, this is what's so intriguing to me. And being able to go watch Silver Surfer, Spider-Man, X-Men, some of these older shows that I was not able to watch. Well, not necessarily not able to watch. Of course, I could have got DVDs, Blu-rays, or what have you of this material. And I'm sure they were putting that stuff out, and I could have bought it. But now, with it being streamed, I'm only paying, $12.99. It's nothing for me to fly through some of this stuff now, and it's just easily accessible. And I want to view this stuff as an adult. That was the whole intrigue, right? It was like, we're going to watch this, but now we get to consume it as an adult. Because the last time I was watching the X-Men animated series was on TV, and I was a kid. That originally premiered between the ages of 2 and 6 for me. And then obviously after that, when it was still appearing on various networks and such, I was a little older, and I remember seeing it then. I remember seeing a couple of episodes, maybe in my early 20s, somewhere. Can't quite remember when, but long story short, I haven't really consumed it and dove into it as an adult, and this was my opportunity to do it. This is my opportunity to do it, and that was, to me, what I wanted to get into. And if you've watched my channel, you kept up with my channel, you've already seen the videos that I've done talking about this, in that there's just so many different things to take into consideration when you're viewing this now, or at least me. I've consumed from the ages of 20, I'm 29 years old now. So ages to even 20 to 29, just the massive amounts of comic books knowledge that I now have and the comic books that I've been able to consume that I obviously didn't possess that knowledge base upon watching it. So I have a completely different perspective on that alone. Just sheer amount of knowledge that I now have that I didn't previously have. But it isn't even just about that, because we also have to discuss the obvious, and that I've aged. I've matured. Consuming something as a kid, consuming it as an adult, two completely different things, two completely different experiences. I was watching XMen and was like, okay, Storm has these cool powers. She does all of these things. Wolverine's mean. And Cyclops shoots laser beams from his eyes. And that's all you knew. But now you get to go into the storyline of it. And like I said, I'm only in episode 3 as of the recent recording of this video. And I don't even remember it being this deep. They've already gone into the whole Magneto thing. And Magneto is a more complex villain than historically depicted. He's not just cutthroat. And I'm not saying he's the only one like this, but this was more so seemingly geared towards kids. And I think this is why, for example, the X-Men, that's what I'm talking about, the animated series, the 90s. But the animated series, I think, is why it stuck around and why it stood the test of time, and why people, they look at it as this classic, like, beacon, right, of just excellence when it comes to not even just comic book material, but just American animation, right? And I'm like, man, this is amazing, because I didn't understand this back then. And I think this is why it just stood the test of time, because you gain just a greater appreciation for it once you age. Now that I'm a man, now that I'm an adult, I just have a better understanding of the narratives, better understanding of the characters, better understanding of the storyline. It's funny, talk about the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and I remember reading some, I can't remember her name off the top of my head, but she's a screenwriter for the upcoming Black Widow movie. And she was talking about how she wasn't really into comic books or superhero films until she got on with the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And she was talking about how she wanted to entertain this whole more complex villains, like this was some groundbreaking thing to do with Marvel related characters. And then I'm watching this animated series and I'm like, well, what she was describing as far as that is what Magneto was back then. This is the early 90s. They introduced Magneto, and this is more clear. It isn't quite exactly like Claremont era, but that's where it draws the influence from. So this is what, almost 10 years maybe removed from Claremont's era, or retcon more so of Magneto. And in that retcon, understanding that his hatred runs deep, but it's not without reason, if that makes any sense. We start to learn about what happened to his family, and linking up and being former friends with Professor X, right? And this is what was introduced here. So this is the element of the character, and we got this from the get-go, and I don't even remember that as a kid. I don't remember that. I don't remember Magneto ever being like, you could watch the show and you're like, well, he has a point, right? He has a point when considering what's going on with the mutants and how they treat humans, right? Or vice versa, how humans treat mutants. And Professor X and Magneto, and how Professor X is trying to be that bridge, right? He wants reason. He wants peace between mutants and humans. And Magneto's over that. It's like they're never going to give us it. We're superior. So why not show it? And that is something that I've grown to respect. And I think everybody's grown to respect out of the X-Men and that whole dynamic. But in a cartoon in the 90s, I just don't remember it being that way. But that's how it is. And this type of stuff is why I'm more intrigued to watch it. It may be things that I remember as being great. Excuse me. Things that I remember being great that are no longer great. And then there are things that I may think suck, and I watch them now, and I'm like, that was okay. So I can't wait to dive into that stuff, and then to give you guys my perspective on that. Now, because it's a different ball game, I cannot stress that enough. It's just not the same. And I'm not selling you on Disney Plus. I'm not telling you to go watch it or to go get it just to get out of it what I'm trying to get out of it. I do recognize it's a little different. This gives me a lot of content. I actually said in my little lunch reaction, if you will. I don't know what was that all about. But in my little lunch reaction, I talked about how depending on what your tastes are, it's maybe worth it to hold off, because none of the Marvel Cinematic Universe shows are out. They do have all the movies, but if you're more so waiting for that stuff, you can hold off. Me personally, I'm not even into the Disney stuff. I don't care about the Disney stuff or like the classic stuff, right? The classic Disney shows that are there, or movies, Disney movies, Lion Kings of the world, and all that. They're all there. Pixar movies are all there. But I'm not intrigued by that. Only two things that I would watch are Nat Geo, because I'm a guy that watches random. I watch random stuff like that. Definitely when I'm out of town, I'm on a speaking gig or something like that. I'm in a hotel. I turn on the TV late at night and I'm watching Ghost Adventures, which I know isn't necessarily National Geographic, but I watch stuff like that. Like that'll just get me zoomed in on it for an hour of just randomness. And that I'm into that. So I can respect that. And I'll probably get something out of that. But as far as the Disney stuff, like, I don't care about that. So it's worth holding off. I believe that it's worth holding off unless you are a big Star Wars guy. They do have most of the Star Wars movies, I'd imagine. Or you have kids. And if you have kids, this is a gold mine. You can introduce them all the stuff maybe you grew up on. And it's all there. But you can hold off. So I'm not trying to sell you on this. That's not what it is that I'm trying to do. I'm just saying that from a content creative standpoint and just me as a comic book fan, I love it. And I'm going to start doing some of this stuff with the DC stuff as well, because, they have DC Universe. It's just the catalog isn't nearly as big as what Marvel's is or what Disney Plus has, right, as far as what you get out of it. So I'm really excited to watch some of the stuff that I grew up on and see what's the difference. What has changed? What has changed from now to then, or from then to now? And that to me is just thinking about it, it's like it gets me giddy, right? I don't have enough time in the day to watch all of this. But I'm excited. It's going to give me a lot of content, which I know is awesome for me from a creative standpoint, because I do enjoy making the material that I have, but also for you guys because you can see it. But let's acknowledge the elephant in the room. And the elephant has nothing to do with what actually is being offered, or I guess it does, but less to do with some of the stuff that I've discussed here already, right? This is a clear shakeup to the whole streaming community, if there is one. Streaming is the new thing that people are trying to do, on networks are trying to do, in which it's not the typical cable outlet. It's like they say you're cutting the cord, right? And I remember seeing this thing on Twitter, and I saw this post about somebody just being completely economically illiterate, and this is why I want to give my thoughts on this. A lot of people are assuming that, well, because now this is shakeup, you got to bundle up everything, right? Or it's not even bundling up, because in some cases you can't. These are competing firms, right? It's back to cable, because if you have all these different streaming services you pay for, instead of just watching it on cable, well, there you have it. You are running up a bill. Now, me personally, I still have cable or direct TV, if you will. I still have that. Now, that's mainly because of like the sports stuff and all of that. But I don't even have to do that. And obviously, it's stuff that the lady watches on random stuff. So I have that in addition to it, right? But again, a lot of this comes from me being just having these random fandoms that I'm a part of. But I don't have to get it. Like some of this stuff I can get access through other mediums, through the, again, there's so many different things that are out there now. Prime, Apple TVs and all of that stuff, which if I really wanted this stuff, I can get it. And it's convenient than it's ever been. But this idea that, okay, now you have to pay for this, you got to understand what exactly you're getting. And let's be real. I know HBO is coming out with their own thing. Let's be 100 with it. There's no way that you can consume all of that media. So if you are paying for every single streaming service, I know you're not watching that unless you get paid to. Unless you are a content creator that literally gets paid to sit there and watch all of this all day long, you're not watching that. Unless you're a bum and you don't have no job and you're not watching this. There's no way that you can consume all that media anyway. And it's like on-demand service, bros. It's on demand. So you have access to things like, I think Disney Plus is in a realm of its own. Yeah, they're going to have some exclusives. But when you consider what you have access to, you have access to the entire catalog of Disney, bro. And it's like that with some of these other networks putting out their stuff. You have access to the catalogs. And it's on demand as well. So you can watch it whenever you couldn't. And yes, cable, I mean, when TiVo came out, now cable has pretty much every cable service has some sort of, you can record the shows and watch them later. But in the same respects, like the on-demand stuff, yeah, even with the cable stuff, you got to pay extra for all of that. But you get access to all of these shows. Think about you'd have to buy Blu-ray for. You don't have to do that with some of this. So it is cheaper. I don't know where these people are getting this idea that it's not like you're going to equal what you. No. That's not understanding what you actually are paying for out of cable. But the idea that you're getting all of this media and you're just going to pay for it all. And then, like I saw, again, that was a tweet that I saw. Well, tell me about cutting the cord again. And this person names all of the different streaming services. Like, dude, you're not watching all those different streaming services. And some of the streaming services have a lot of crossover effect, which you don't need both of them. You can get it by with just one and still get the sort of shows that you're going to need access to. Me personally, I invite this. It's a shakeup, and I invite it. I invite competing firms. I love the idea that I have a choice in the material that I want to consume. If I was just strictly a comic book nerd, I didn't care for sports and all of this stuff, I would have no reason whatsoever to have some of the other, like, even cable. Like, say if I just wanted to go with Marvel or Disney Plus, I was a fan of the big two in their shows, go with Marvel and go with DC Universe and go about my business. Between the two, I'm barely paying $10 or something like that. A little over $10. You paying have anybody seen a cable bill as of late? And again, it's ornament. You get to pick and choose. And then with these other services, like if you have Prime and all these things that cross over, like if you really want to watch a movie, you can pay $10 to get it, or X amount of dollars to get an entire season of something that maybe on another network you can still get. So it still works out. I just don't think people are taking it into consideration because they're overwhelmed. Me personally, I invite it because it's competition. Competition to me is always good. And you can say Disney's going to corner the market because they're already so big. I don't think that's going to happen. Not in terms of the other things that people like and have access to. And I know there's going to be people that disagree with that. I don't think they're going to corner the market in its entirety. Like, they're not going to get rid of all streaming services. If anything, that people are going to look at what they're doing and they're going to try to do it better. And good for them. But I do love that aspect of being able to pick and choose what I want to watch, when I want to watch it, and just, going about my business. Again, bro, do y'all not understand with Disney Plus? You're paying $12 if you get that with the ESPN. You're paying $6.99. If not, you get access to all of, like, a huge, gigantic, is that a word? Gigantic, massive amounts of just content that one person can't consume. And then you're knocking out two birds with one stone in terms of if you got kids, you got them watching all of that. They can't watch everything that's on there. And by everything, I mean, they can't even the kids stuff. There's no way they're going to be able to consume it all. It's too much. It's a good thing. But in the same respects, if you don't have it, big whoop. Unless you want some of their exclusives, that's the thing. That's the thing that each deal is going to have. They're going to have their exclusives, but it's all a crossover effect. They seemingly work with each other, and like they know that in order for me to have, in order for people to have access to this, I know I have to work with you. This is why Disney Plus app doesn't have their own like device what you have to buy, which I'm pretty sure they'll come out with. But they know that they have to have an application that's available on other people's deal. They have their own streaming services like Amazon, like Apple. So me personally, I think it's a shakeup, but I think it's a shakeup for the better. I'm not one of those guys that's just going to be pessimistic about it all. And I'm not even really being an optimist about this. I just love the competition. I love the fact of being able to pick and choose. Again, I personally can't even consume all of this media. I just canceled 2 services. If Netflix had something that was keeping me around and I was more interested in that, I still have Netflix, but I don't need it. What I need it for? I don't need it. So to me, I love the competition. I welcome the competition. I just absolutely love the idea of me being able to have access to all of this material, and it really gets me excited as a content creator. But even from an element of me not even being a content creator, looking at it, from some of you guys' perspective, this is a good thing. This is a good thing. People are having to compete for your dollars. Money's scarce, baby. Money is the most common commodity, but it's a scarce resource at the end of the day. So people got to pick and choose. And to me, that's what gets you cheaper. I mean, bro, think about it. Could you imagine even that, 15 years ago? And like, man, I'm only going to pay this month. I'm going to pay $7 and I'm going to have access to all the Disney movies. I'm going to have access to all of them on demand. $7. That's 2 games at Blockbuster right there. Back in the Gap. Took a couple of games of Blockbuster for 3 days. I got it on demand. That's a whole month. That's a whole month. Like, it's gotten convenient. It's gotten more convenient. You got to look at it from that aspect. And that's the thing, as we get more convenient, people demand more convenience. So any slight inconvenience, they are like, man, this is the worst thing ever. And they don't even put it in the context of the last 10 years. This is the best thing that's happened. More streaming services, and people are realizing that they can be a little more independent with their work. And you're seeing all of these different platforms have applications which they did not even have 5 years ago. And they're able to pull up these applications and watch shows on demand. Like, that is amazing to me. And that benefits all of us in the long run. Now, if you are a guy, maybe you end up matching your cable bill if you're some sort of critic and you watch everything on every platform, which I don't see how possibly you could do that. Because even the average person that watches cable, they only watch a few of the channels. They don't watch everything there. Old to young. They stick to a couple of channels and that's it. Imagine if you could just outright pay for those channels and go about your business. And I think that's where the world is going. Instead of being forced to say, which is what cable was, you pay for cable and you get all of these channels, right? And now people are like, man, I don't have access to, like, dude, you can still get cable, but even bundling all of that up is still gonna, if you pay for multiple streaming services, you still come out below what a regular average cable bill will cost. So I don't know what people get off with this idea, like, oh, well, it's just the same as cable because I have to. No, it's not. No, it's not. Have you ever seen the average cable bill? And I ain't talking about, and I'm talking about long run cable bill. I ain't talking about no deal that they set you up with and they jack the 1 year price lock and they double the price on you the next year. right? You know, that's what you got to take into consideration. But imagine just a world, which I think is where we're coming to, where cable's going to be null and void. It's still going to be bundles because a lot of these companies are going to work together. I do think that's still going to be a thing. That's not going to go anywhere. Certainly, I just think it's going to become more narrow in a sense that what's bundled is going to make more sense, right? So it's going to have to be, and this is where these gigantic entities are going to have to work together to try to decide how this works out. But when it comes to these bundles, man, like it's going to be ones that make sense, which cable is. If you think of cable as just a massive bundle of a bunch of, and I say 90% of what's in the bundle you don't even watch. Imagine a world where you can just pick and choose the channel that you want access to. And even if you're having to pay multiple firms, it's still going to be cheaper than your cable bill. If I just want to, the perfect world for me would be, and I can technically, but I could pay for my Mavs games, Rangers games, Stars games, FC Dallas games, Serie A games, my DC shows, my Marvel shows, and that's it. And that's really it, give or take. There may be some in between, but that's it. Imagine if I could just pay outright for those, right? Which is going to be cheap. Even if they were all of what I named was what? $3 to $5 a pop. I'm still coming out below what I pay for a freaking cable bill. Like Fox Sports, they have, their own thing. I think Fox is, I don't know if Fox is owned by Disney. I don't know how that works out with the sports. Imagine if I could do that and just get Fox Sports, and then I got my Mavs games and my Stars games right there. One channel. That's all I need. I don't even know half my channels on DirecTV. The only thing we watch the CW for the DC shows. We watch when Fox had Gotham and stuff like that. But Fox, NBC, like the basic stuff, which is all basic. NBC, CBS, they show basketball games and football games every now and then, But other than that, like I don't care about all of the other stuff in between. From now, channel 999,000. Like I don't watch none of that. But it's in my cable. And most of you individuals have the same thing. A lot of people are just stubborn, right? Just stubborn, like, oh, it's not, I'm only paying the same as my cable. No, you are not. So I personally welcome it. I think this is something that is going to benefit a lot of people from a pocketbook standpoint. Speaking of old terms, pocketbook standpoint. So I welcome it. I 100% welcome it. But Disney Plus was a shakeup. Netflix, everybody's like on like this, specifically Netflix. They're like, wow, what's the adjustment gonna be made? Netflix has been jacking up the price back to back on me too. So, but it's like, what's the adjustment that has to be made? It has to be an adjustment made, and I love it. I love the adjustment, or love to see what they're gonna have to do to make it more enticing for people to stick around. But we're seeing people try new things, and people imitate, bro. That's what happens. People see what's going down. They're like, man, so and so is doing this and it's working out. Why don't we try? And it's just gonna be a big shakeup to the entire streaming, like when it comes to platforms. And I love it. I personally love it. I welcome it, and I think people should take that into consideration and take more of it in consideration when reacting to all of this. Like, everybody has something to say about it, and some people, I think, just have the wrong idea when it comes to comparing it to cable. That's all I'm saying. We'll see. It doesn't mean everything's going to be perfect. It doesn't even mean that some people won't get the short end of the stick. There's going to be some trials, some errors, just like with any market. And the market's going to respond. We like it. We love it. We hate it. We'll see what happens. But me personally, I welcome this. Now, usually I would get into my my pull list for the day, but I don't really have it. Oh, I have it, but it's no sense in me giving it to you because it's comic book day. It's the next day in terms of when I recorded this episode, and I'm trying to get on a right schedule, so I'm not really going to give you one. But X-Force, Marauders, I don't know if that was this week or last week, but all the X-Men stuff, Powers of X, Powers of House of X, and everything that spawned from that. Y'all know I'm all over it, right? There's a couple of new stuff that's dropped since the last time I recorded this. New series such as Ghost Rider that I'm on. I'm all over. We got some more information about the new Agents of Atlas, which I've been raving about. Some of the characters. They've had the I forget what they call it, the little one-shots. We just got a Crescent and Io one-shot. We got the one-shot of Luna Snow, White Fox, right? So we're learning more about those characters. So there's a lot there. But again, I plan to get on an actual set schedule as far as when these are going to come out and then have a pull list for you. But I don't have one for you today. I'm sorry. No, like you go, oh, what do you got? I'm sorry. But just think of it that way. Y'all know what's been on the pull list. Everything that's been on the pull list is still on it. But there are some new series. A lot of stuff came from the XMen thing. I'm still all over that. But again, visit ericdjuly.com for more information. Whole entire episode brought to you by Daydreamer Customs. Be sure to head over there. Tell the lady I sent you. It's cool items, jewelry, bracelets, jewelry boxes, coasters. It's a lot of stuff over there, man. Picture frames. We got all kinds of stuff over there. So head over there. Tell the lady I sent you. I do appreciate everybody for yet another, tuning in. Another episode of For Canon's Sake. We're starting to get up there. I want to keep dropping these, but we're starting to get up there. Right? I need to get to like these other podcasts. They got 500 episodes, right? That's where I'm trying to be. Those are the aspirations. 500. Imagine that. For Canon's Sake, episode 500. Got a ways to go, but I do appreciate the support. Of course, you can support the show at patreon.com/ericdjuly, but just go to ericdjuly.com and get all that information live on all major digital platforms.
That's going to do it for today's episode of For Canon's Sake with Eric July. Be sure to keep it locked for the best mix of comics and political commentary you'll ever hear. And I mean ever hear. To get caught up or to contact the show, be sure to visit forcanonsake.com.